So a couple days ago, I sent a video from YouTube. A guy called Trench Grenade put up a Glock torture test. It was almost like a time warp back to 2008 when people were burying him in dirt. Anyway, it was a big clickbait post with because of the thumbnail. It said the Glock 19 fails burn down, and it was really because he didn't install the sights right. In the video, he shows the front sight coming out. You don't see any blue Loctite on the threads, but that's probably because either he didn't use any, or if he did, he didn't clean the oil, which is clearly visible under the sight, and the Loctite didn't set. This person got really mad about my post that I didn't tag him. My post was actually pretty mild too, but I did tag him so much, and then he ended up in my DMs. So he gets right to it in the DM. Next time, try tagging me. I pull up a screenshot, show him that I did tag him, tell him to try looking. Then he goes on the attack about I'm just a slop meme page. He'd like to debate me live. And then he wants all my military records or medical stuff. I don't know if he wants to thumb my ass or what he wants to do or check my prostate, but that's kind of odd. I always found it funny when the Brovet guys were like, well, you didn't serve or you didn't this. The guy knows nothing about me. He doesn't know my history. Could I have served? I could have. Maybe I didn't, maybe I did. But you just assume I didn't? Anyway, after that, before I could even respond, the dude blocks me. Before I can even respond to his debate request, I get fucking blocked. But let's take a look at his torture test piece by piece, and I'll tell you why it's horseshit. The other part of this I find pretty unbelievable is that this post here says 29,000 rounds fired between the 4 guns, but he's generally concentrating on 2 of the guns. Now, if you had 29,000 rounds to flex with, I mean, because that's a lot of ammo. I mean, at wholesale cost, that's like, I don't know, $6 grand probably. $10 a box is probably wholesale, $9.50. I mean, you're talking retail, you're probably talking $7,500, $8 grand. Now, you shot all that ammo out of these guns. Let's just say you didn't shoot 29,000 out of those 2. It looks like it was all 4. So you shot 12,000 rounds out of these 2 guns, and there's not one photo of the empty boxes, of all the boxes, of the cases, no receipts. To me, that's a flex. If you're going online to spend that kind of money, unsponsored, out of your own pocket to make a video, you think you'd at least post the goddamn ammo, something to prove that you did this. That's what the other guys did. They'd post the ammo. They'd have guys line up loading mags. And you shot all these rounds yourself in this short period of time? Because these 2 guns look like these torture testers, these burn downs, looks like they started fucking 12 days ago. Like, that's one of that's a big one. And that's one's easy to prove. If you did it, post the receipt, post the ammo, post the trash. What'd you do with all the shell casings? Are they lying all out in the woods somewhere? So other people got to pick them up? I mean, most people would pick up 12,000 rounds of 9mm brass because that might net you another case of ammo almost. First and foremost, if you go back and watch the old videos, the torture test videos, there was a guy out there that buried a Glock 21 for 2 years. They'd have 5-gallon buckets of dirt, the same exact dirt. They kept the variables pretty closely controlled. None of the variables in this video were controlled whatsoever. So let's start with that. The first thing is, in the video, you can see the serial number on his gun. These guns are not new. I was curious, I saw that. I looked at my Glock 19. My Glock 19 is actually newer than his, and I purchased mine in 2020. If you're gonna do a torture test for these guns, both guns should be purchased brand new, unfired, and done that way. Not 2 used guns you've had lying around that you put rounds through, didn't maintain. I mean, could there be 5,000 rounds through that Glock or a SIG before we even started the torture test? Does it need a recoil spring? I don't care what the manufacturer says. You talk to Joe Chambers or any of those guys, they'll tell you recoil springs don't last forever. They need to be changed. So that's my first gripe. They're not new guns. In this picture, it's screenshots from the video, we see the Glock and the SIG both being buried in dirt. Now, it's possible he could be running a filter on his video, you know, so it looks better. I don't know. But if you look at the pine needles, this video was taken different time of year. It was taking 2 different times a year. It could be a month apart. It could be October, it could be November, it could be September and November, but they weren't done at the same exact time. And the other gripe with this is you have variables in there. They're not the same exact spot. You could induce small pebbles or rocks into the Glock or the SIG, but not the other gun. The right way to do this would be you go to the store, you buy a bucket of soil or something consistent, and you put it in a 5-gallon bucket, and you put the gun through the same ringer in the same bucket with the same exact soil. You don't randomly dig a hole in the yard and fucking bury it like a goddamn dog bone. Now let's talk about this too. This is one of my favorite parts. Let's soak this gun in CLP so much that it doesn't work. Everyone who knows anything about Glocks is you don't get oil in the firing pin channel. That causes failures. It's not about debris, it's not about that. It's the oil in the firing pin and the spring cups. They don't work together. It causes failure to fires. Very common knowledge if you know anything about firearms. Glocks have been around a long time. That's commonplace knowledge. You don't do it. And the gun is soaked. If you look at the bottom of this video, you'll see that I even took pieces of Glock's manual that says that to not do that. And the other ones that these guns like to run dry. Anybody who owns a Glock, anybody who's been around a Glock, they don't need to be oil soaked. That's some old man fudge shit right there. Again, introducing a variable. It's just, you're ruining the test. You're almost making it come out the way you want it to come out. And the reason that is because the P320 is such a hot topic right now. You want the engagement and the clickbait for people to go in there. You don't care about the 320. You just want the views. People are like, oh, this guy likes the 320 over the Glock. Let's see what he has to say. And then they leave a negative comment and you delete it. And then you get mad at me for calling you out on the bullshit. Now let's take a look at all the failures or the wrongdoings or the things on the Glock that failed. We'll start with the front sight, which clearly user error. Any moron, I mean, all you have to do is read the directions. It comes with a blue Loctite. Based on how you soaked the gun in oil, I assume that's how you run all your guns. So there's so much goddamn oil in there, you couldn't put it together. And then you cry that the gun failed. Or, oh, I racked my gun off my belt. I used my sights for this. Plastic sights suck. The gun was abused before you even started doing any of the testing. Let's talk about the finish wear, because this is another one of my favorite parts. Anybody who owns a Glock knows that the barrels, the slide, they all wear in the same spots. They wear in the same exact places. The barrels wear pretty easily. Probably a few hundred rounds in, you start to get that ring because of the slide rubbing against the barrel. Same with the inside of the slide. It's not from heat, like he says in this video. The barrel didn't wear off because of heat. Heat melts things. It distorts things. The finish didn't come off because of that. If you look at the slide release, the finish is worn off from being a holster. Same with the extractor. It's not worn from being tossed around on the ground and rubbed in the dirt. That's almost polished. You didn't polish it in pine needles. Another piece that made me lean into knowing that the gun was already used, a police trade-in, or it's been hanging around or been in a holster and carried and used long before this torture test was done. Another reason to be called out. If you look at the internal wear on this gun, you can see the slide in the barrel, worn, and then you can see my photo. I have a spare 19. You know where this gun sits? It sits in the back of a backpack in a holster made for the backpack, and it goes with me day to day. My daily carry is a J-frame most of the time at work. I have this gun on me all the time just in case. It's there in the bag. This gun's probably seen maybe 500-600 rounds just to make sure it worked function, and that's where it sat. Now look at the wear on my gun. That's from 500-600 rounds. His isn't that far exaggerated. It's normal wear for a Glock. This isn't defective, but you would think it's defective if you've never ever played around or haven't been around the industry or been around guns long enough to know how this shit works. The characteristics of different guns. I mean, just go work at a gun range. If you really want to see how torture tests work, go work at a high volume rental gun range and see what guns fail. See what guns are sitting in the gunsmithing bin and stop working on the range. Those are the ones, that's how you know. I've been in this industry for a long time. I started out at like gun stores and doing that stuff on the side part-time, learning my own FFL, my own SOT. I know this industry. I've been around it a long time. I know the ins and outs, how every gun works. I know how it all operates. This video is pure horseshit. My conclusion to this video really though is, I mean, we don't have any evidence of that many rounds being shot. We don't have videos of that many rounds being shot. It very easily could have been filmed for 3 hours on a camera and time lapse to show us the ammo going through. We don't have pictures of the ammo. We got some half-assed pictures of magazines already loaded. We see an ammo can randomly. What we don't see is cases of 9. We don't see piles of shell casings. We don't see receipts. We don't see a bag of ammo trash. We don't see any of that. Both these guns were used. That doesn't test anything. They could have needed parts, the recoil springs could replace. Like again, I'm not a Glock fanboy, but this test has so many variables. If anybody knows anything about that, you can't introduce that variables into a test that you want to be accurate. It's not accurate whatsoever. It's all designed for clickbait to get the people riled up about the Glock being worse than the P320. These tests were done a long time ago. They're old news. I have no reason to conduct one to myself. There's no reason to bury my gun in dirt and be like, oh, it works, that's great. No, I've been around long enough to know what guns work, what guns don't work. I know how to fix guns. I've had issues with that Daniel H9, the new edition. It hasn't gone back to Daniel. I asked them for some parts, to send some old parts back. I'm working through that gun myself to see if I can get it to function and be a decent gun. I'm not dragging it and throwing it in my pool and jamming it in my asshole. It's been done before, man. It's old news. Go back on YouTube. Go back to the James Yeager. James Yeager did one with a bunch of guys, a Gen 3 Glock. I remember very vividly, they're firing that gun, and it was guy after guy shooting that gun while guys loaded mags. That was a non-stop torture test. They shot that gun to the point where the end of the plastic guide rod melted off and came out and shot out of the whole guide rod, shot out of the gun, and the spring stayed in place and the gun still worked. You know how hot? That's what heat does. That's what heat does. That's how hot the gun got. That is a torture test, not putting it in pine needles and jamming it in your asshole and rubbing Vaseline on it with your taint. That's not how it's done, man. And none of this would have happened. I made a video and moved on. I didn't even know who you were. But then you throw my DM about, oh, show me your military stuff. Show me your pecker. Show me this. And then you want to debate me live. And then you, block me immediately. And then earlier today, we had a little interaction. And I tried telling you to show me the rounds, and you just kept asking me if I didn't torture test it myself, if I didn't do this test myself, I got no opinion. I got no opinion. So I agreed to debate. I agreed. I set a date. And then all of a sudden, I'm out on the road doing shit, and we need to do it now. And I'm sure I got trashed in that. I haven't watched it yet, but I'm sure you're trashing me in it because I'm not there to defend myself. But defend this video. Each one of those topics, go through and explain yourself, because your video's a load of horse shit. No one wants to watch you. Your own viewers leave nasty comments. Like, the video's a joke, man. Stop trying to be something you're not. You could do good reviews. You could do stuff. Stop doing the clickbait. You know enough to get some subscribers, get some videos. Just do it, man. Just be honest. Just do honest, open reviews. It's that easy. It's not hard.